Okay, awesome episode this week, guys. My friends Denise and James are embarking on a new journey, and I'm so excited for them. They have sold everything in LA and are hitting the road. They have 3 kids in college now, and they're just going to take this next chapter as it comes and explore and see where they want to maybe put down some roots and travel, visit their kids, and they're podcasting about it. So they have a podcast called Skip Town All Stars. You can find it wherever you find your podcasts. They also have a YouTube channel and a website. So Skip Town All Stars, check them out. I love this conversation. I'm so excited for this journey for them. And I hope you enjoy the conversation too. Thank you so much for coming back every week. Thank you for all your emails, for all your comments. I do read them all. Can't respond to them all, but I try. So thank you for all your correspondence. I appreciate it. So I hope you enjoyed this episode with Denise and James, Skip Town All Stars. It's going to be really fun. Are you excited?
We are.
We're
really excited. Yeah. I think the excitement will start once we get in the car, because right now it's packing up, doing an estate sale, which we don't have an estate. We have a small house, but you still have to call an estate sale, which is so silly.
I know.
But we have to sell everything in the home. So a garage sale seems too like small. So estate sale seems big, but whatever. We decided estate sale. We're sticking with it. Yeah. And that's really stressful.
Yeah.
So that selling all that, I actually have a friend who offered to take it on for me, because I called a couple of companies. I didn't get a call back. I think it's because I told them I live in Van Nuys. And
yeah, of course.
I swear to God, Leanne.
Like, there's no such thing as an estate in Van Nuys.
Yes, there is. No, there's not. Don't tell anybody.
And that's
the
true.
secret.
That's
Yeah,
true.
exactly.
That's true. So my girlfriend said she would do it. So her and her husband are actually, they've posted everything on these websites,
Amazing.
on apps, and I will give them a percentage of the sales, which I'm so happy. I don't have to deal with that. I just have to deal with packing boxes. And
Totally.
Thank you for boxes, by the way.
Of course. I still have more. So we'd already started, because that's how my podcast starts. We just talk. So
I had a feeling.
to get everybody up to speed, tell me what you're doing.
You go first.
Okay. So we are in our early 50s, and we have decided to pack up our home, sell it. Well, we're just packing up actually our belongings, literally clothes and important papers, selling everything in our house and traveling. We had 3 daughters. Our youngest just graduated high school. She's starting college in the fall. And our thought was, when she's out, we're going to do this. The pandemic taught us that my husband can work from anywhere. Mm-hmm. I own a business, so my business is a little different. I still have a lease on my space, but what I do for a living, I can do anywhere as well. And there's just no reason to live in Los Angeles for us. Mm-hmm. We find it to be very expensive. And as we're getting older and figuring out retirement, we know that it'd be challenging to retire here. Mm-hmm. We could do it. We just couldn't do all the things that we really love to do. We'd have to really watch our money, and we don't want that. We want to have more freedom with our money. Yeah. So we want to find a home somewhere, and it could be overseas. We're open to anything. We want to find a place where our money could go a little further. And he wants to semi-retire. So the goal is that maybe he only works 6 months out of the year. He's a television editor. So now with the pandemic, all he needs is a laptop, and he can work anywhere.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I can fit my entire rig in a backpack and just go. So
that's amazing.
Second monitor, everything, you name it. And so, for me, the reason we want to leave is not, like, I've always had the desire. Like, I was kind of a nomad when I got here, and it's kind of surprising to me. I've been here a quarter of a century, just in one place. Yeah. So I always just, I love being in airports. I love getting on, a train or what, you just name it, and I'm ready to go. I wake up really early when we're on vacations and stuff, and I just like walk cities. Like, I'll grab a cup of coffee and the kids will be, passed out, and Denise will still be in bed. And So I've just always had that urge to like, let's go, you know? And
You're a
I know,
traveler.
yeah. And I know that if we stay here, Denise is just going to have me doing random things like ironing curtains and like we're empty nesters. So she's just going to give me these little weird, odd jobs to like fill my day.
It's
you
true.
know?
What are you doing? That's what I'm going to be saying. What are you
she'll be
doing?
like, hey, this needs done. And then, you know, I find that I'm embroiled in some project or whatever and hating life. So I just didn't want to, I don't want to go out that way. So we're moving. That's basically it. We don't know where, but we're going.
That's so exciting.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we're really,
and really brave, right?
Thank
and really
you.
smart. You took a realistic look at the next 50 years of your
did.
life and went, what is that? What do we want that to look like? I think that's super brave.
We started this probably in 2017, 18, talking about it. We also know that our daughters would have a very difficult time buying a home in Los Angeles. And it's really important, since we have 3 girls, that we live near them. Like you, we're not from California and our family is far. My family lives in Chicago, Florida. And so for them to come to visit, it's a long plane ride. It's expensive. I want them to come for more than just a week. They have not really been able to see my daughters grow up. I don't want that for my daughters. I want to be present. They're all in college, so they're going to find homes, not for, quite a while, but, we both feel like we don't want them to not be able to live near us because of financial problems, meaning like they can't buy a house in LA. Like houses are so expensive. How are all 3 of my girls going to be able to afford a home? And all of us live within like a few blocks or even a mile of each other. So for us, that was also the driving factor. And we started talking about this in like 2017, 18, like saying when the girls graduate, we want to leave and we want to move to a place. We don't know what that looks like or where it is, that we can all afford and like live near each other and reasonably comfortable means.
Right. And there are so many places like that here, but also abroad.
Yes.
So many places in the United States that are beautiful and have tons of things to do and
Absolutely.
culture and arts and entertainment, lots of cities all over the place. LA is definitely not the only fantastic place to live.
No, it's true. And that's worth mentioning, actually, that, it's not like we don't love it here. We've lived here for this long. We like it. I mean, there are things we hate about LA, just like anybody who lives in any big city.
Sure.
LA has its problems and blemishes, just like every other big city. But, so it's kind of bittersweet that we're leaving. But at the same time, we just feel when we are in different cities, we're always kind of giving it like the side eye, like, could we live here? Could we do this? Could we do that? And so I've had, I just recently worked for a company, because of the pandemic, I can, the television industry in post-production editing, what I do, sort of shifted its whole business model to allowing editors to work from home. We had never been able to do that before. I always knew we could. I always tried to pitch it to employers. They never went for it. And no, it'll never work. People won't do their jobs. You'll be, screwing off and all that. And it's just the last few years have proven that's just not true.
Right.
Like, the shows are still being pumped out at the same rate. If anything, I'm working more hours.
That's true.
And so, ultimately, I've been able to work. I was working on a show recently with a producer who is in Portugal. I was working for a company that was in New Zealand. They've already offered me a sponsorship if I want to go down there and work. I'm not sure I do, to work for them full time. Mm-hmm. But you better believe we're probably going to visit at some point,
Heck yeah.
I remember during the pandemic, my cousin, who's also works in television, called me and said, he doesn't do what James does. James is an editor. He doesn't do that. He does something else. He's a colorist. So he colors shows, which is the technical thing. But in that of itself, he called to tell me that one of the big shows he works on, a really very popular show, their lead editor moved to Boston. And this was like in the fall of 2020. And he called to tell me this. And I said, they are still employing him. He said, oh yeah. He's like, he's working from his home in Boston. And he said to me, he goes, it has a bowling alley. He goes, he called me and told me his home has a bowling alley. Where they lived in a little house in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
He moved to Boston in a suburb and his house has a bowling alley. And I remember getting off the phone and running to James in the fall and saying, we can do this. Like,
I want a bowling alley.
Literally, I want a
Don't we
bowling
all?
alley.
We're not getting a bowling alley.
But
We're going to be a little more compact than that.
I was so excited though, because what we had talked about, we could actually do. And
Yeah.
the pandemic brought that for us. And I know the pandemic was a struggle for many people, and it was a struggle for us as well. But the one thing that we got out of it was that we could do this, which is what we had been saying for years.
Right.
And so it helped us make our dream become a reality.
Right.
Yeah.
Helped you make the decision. Gave you like some confirmation that what you were thinking was
Absolutely.
Yeah.
very
Mhm.
possible.
And at one point he was going to pivot his job, and he
Yeah.
was taking coding classes at UCLA in 2019, because the thought was, okay, he could be an editor anywhere, but the pay would not be Los Angeles pay. He wouldn't be working on big, television shows, reality shows. He'd probably work as an editor at a local news station. That's
Yeah.
what we thought like he could do.
Mhm.
But what could he possibly do that could make him money
Mhm.
that he's making now? And we really like racked our brains, and he has to bring a laptop with him. So it had to be something that we could travel with.
Sure.
And so it
Yeah.
was, he came up to me and one night and said, hey, I think I could do coding, because I can do that anywhere.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm, after 20 some years, I'm just freelance mindset.
Right.
So to take a salary position somewhere else, it just sounds really unappealing to me.
Mhm.
I'm not saying I wouldn't. I'll do whatever it takes to feed the kids and
Yeah,
make sure
yeah.
they get through school and all that. But it's just not. My father was a welder for 30 years. Showed up at the same factory day in and day
Mhm.
out. Was a very stoic Scottish guy,
Mhm.
and just his only piece of advice to me ever. Well, two. He gave me the sex talk, but it was already after. It was too late.
Too late.
And then, yeah, thanks, Dad. But then his other piece of advice he gave me was never work in the same place all your life. And I sort of took that to the extreme on the other level. Like it's frustrated Denise at times. It took her a while, several years early in our marriage, to kind of figure it out. And I'm sure you're also no stranger to the gig economy in a family,
No,
And so
not stranger to that.
yeah. So but it's just
there's
it's a way of
something
life.
great about that way of life, right?
There is.
Because you can say no to things
yeah.
if you want to. If
Yeah.
you want, you can say, you know what? I'm taking August off.
Yeah.
So see you in September. And it's
Yeah.
harder to do that when you're
For sure. And I haven't
work
been
for
able
the
to
man,
do it.
so to speak.
true.
Yeah,
right?
totally. I haven't been able to do it, since, putting the kids through school and, all that stuff. And now I feel like I'm finally at a place, especially with the sale of the house. We have no debt now, which
Amazing.
is great. Yeah. And I've already had a kid graduate. So from
Right.
college.
That's
so,
amazing.
So that,
Wow.
her education
really
is
is.
paid, done, signed, sealed, delivered now. I have 2 more to go, but with, I think maybe starting after the first of the year, if I can make it that long, we'll see. Then we'll just start, like, we're going to travel for the short term
Mhm.
and just enjoy life a little bit. And then after a couple months, I'm going to have to start working again. It's the reality of it.
Right.
But the difference is, we'll only have whatever we're doing on the road to pay for
Mhm.
and, the tuition for my daughters, as opposed to this credit card or this car payment or this mortgage payment or,
Mhm.
and so it's us, the Airbnb and dog food,
That's amazing.
and so that's it. And people keep asking us, are you taking the dog? And we are.
Yeah.
Just
What are we going to do with the dog? It's so weird. People keep asking us about our dog. I mean, what would we do with her? Put her in the pound? She's like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
She's
no.
part of our life.
Yeah.
Everyone keeps asking, are you taking the dog? Yeah, we're taking the dog.
She's my buddy. She follows me everywhere I go.
Well, I think people think of dogs differently than back in the day. Like a dog in a car with you is actually fine.
Yeah.
Totally.
They're totally fine.
Yeah.
Totally.
They don't need to be running around all day long with their own private yard. They're fine. They just want to be with you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's
all they
true.
want.
And we're going to stop and do hikes and get
Of
her some
course.
exercise and that sort of thing. So, so the dog's coming with us.
Yeah, and she's older, so it's her chance to finally see the country a little bit. I mean, she's been to Arizona with us and stuff, but it's her big like granny trip.
Yeah,
It
is.
So
That's
we're taking her to
great.
Vegas, and she's going to lose all her money.
Amazing. So there's this great guy on Instagram. He has an Instagram called Sammy the Chicken.
Oh,
He has a pet chicken
nice.
and he travels all over the country
Oh,
with this chicken.
We're gonna have to check that
How
out.
does he get into hotel rooms though? There's no way. Like he must go into like really crappy hotels to like can't bring the chicken. Like, where's he bringing the chicken? Can you bring a chicken even to an Airbnb? How is this man doing this?
I don't know, but
is he
he does
RVing
it.
it. He must be RVing it.
I don't know. There's no RVs in any of his photos. But like if he'll go to like the Washington Monument and the chicken is in front of the Washington Monument.
That's so good.
You could fit a chicken in a Prius. So
you could put a chicken. And you know what? People don't know this. Chickens are trainable. We had chickens. Well, I grew up with chickens, but we had 3 pet chickens before we moved to this house. And I trained them. I trained them to like come with certain calls so that if I called a certain thing, they knew to get in the coop. If I called another thing, they knew to come in the kitchen and walk around with me. I let them walk around the house with me.
Oh, that's great.
Chickens actually have empathy. So when they attach to a person,
really,
they can read their emotions and will try to comfort a human if that human is
crazy. I didn't know
feeling
that.
down. Yeah, chickens are really smart.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, my grandmother always said chickens are so dumb. Every time they blink their eyes, they're in a whole new world. I don't think that's accurate. I think they're just when they're in a flock with each other, they're just doing their thing.
Right.
But
that's so funny. I grew up in the
pet-
sticks and I never knew that.
Well, I didn't either. I grew up with chickens.
Yeah.
But when I got my own chickens, I was like talking to them. You know, they became like a dog, and they got along with our dogs and our cat. So I used to sit in the yard with a bull mastiff, a terrier mix, a tabby, and 3 chickens.
That's awesome.
I have tons of pictures.
I was going to say, please tell me you took photos.
Oh, tons.
That's very
And
cool.
the chickens like to sleep in the dog bed. So
where were the dogs? On the couch and the chickens
on the floor?
The dogs would concede ground to the chickens.
Yes,
that's awesome.
The chickens were totally the boss. Because if they didn't like something, they'd just peck them. And the dog would be like, wait, what just happened to me? I just got attacked.
That's so funny.
Priscilla, our dog was 135 pounds. She could have eaten the chickens.
Yeah.
She didn't make that connection.
Okay, so that's really funny.
So
Mastiffs are so gentle though. Like really,
They are very sweet.
they're like
Yes.
just mellow, big and scary at first glance, but just genuinely sweet dogs.
They are.
Yeah.
So traveling with your dog will be great.
I think so. It'll be, we're not going to do an RV. We're not RV people. It's just not, we're more like cool, funky hotels and Airbnbs.
Right.
So we figured there are now plenty of hotels that are popping up that can bring a dog.
Mm-hmm.
So the dog will be just fine.
That will be fine. So on top of this new venture, you're also starting a podcast.
We are.
We are.
What is it called?
Skip Town All Stars.
Skip Town All Stars. And it can be found where you find any podcast, right?
Yes. Well, we're going to have a YouTube channel, and we will be on all the majors: Spotify, Apple, you name it. So yeah, it's going to be great.
So what are you going to do in this podcast? I know you've already shot 2 episodes or recorded 2 episodes, but going forward, what could somebody expect?
I think moving forward, we already have a taste in our second episode of sort of the pod being delivered to the house to fill that up. And that's all just, me on the porch, kind of bickering with the guy. We had a little bit of a snafu. The wrong size was originally ordered. Our fault, our mistake. Once we saw it.
In my defense, the woman on the phone did say that the pod I ordered is the size of a
1 bedroom.
Studio to 1 bedroom. Okay. A studio apartment has a couch, end table, a TV. No, this was a closet they delivered.
Oh my God.
This was a closet.
Yeah, it was a walk-in closet basically on a pallet.
And when it pulled it, when they had landed in the driveway, put it in the driveway, landed it, when they placed it in the driveway and I pulled up, I was like, what is that? Like, I wouldn't even be able to fit my luggage in there. Like,
right?
Yeah.
So I had to call and get another one delivered. It was just several hours on the phone.
So there was a little bit of, recording the guy not wanting to take the little one and just wanting to leave the big one on the street. But we had already had experience with that when we were doing construction on our house. We lived there 22 years and the city never, ever came up our street. And the minute I put a pod there for construction purposes and to move our stuff, we had stickers and they were going to come and recoat the street
and tow it.
And they wanted us to move it and I had to pay. And so I just, so there's a little bit of me telling the guy like, hey,
you can't leave it on the street.
You can't do that. And you have to take this one and you have to, and it was a lot of maneuvering.
Yeah.
And I get the sense he was kind of a managerial type rather than just your blue
Pod
collar,
deliverer.
Get it done
the
type.
regular pod guy kind of
Yeah.
thing. And so,
and there's no
but
sponsorship
then there's a
from
twist
Pod
at the
right
end
now.
because
No.
then there's a twist at the end because it turns out our pod guy who's switching out our pods actually has a YouTube channel of his own with his daughter, and they open Funko Pops, those toys.
Yeah.
And it's just like a cute little unboxing. I've watched it actually. It's adorable. It's a cute little unboxing thing that he does with his 6-year-old daughter. And so it's just like everybody in LA has an angle. And
Yes,
even the
everybody.
pod guy.
Yes.
So, but anyway, we recorded. So we'll have recorded segments like that. A little bit more of course, us sitting at the table and sort of commiserating on our failures and victories.
So the
but
first
also
two-
just some insert pieces like, recordings and clips of when we're actually out and about and, doing
So
things.
you're like video, audio journaling your adventure, your journey.
Yes. And we're starting the first few podcasts are just literally the beginning, like how we are doing this. So the pod is obviously part of it. Like we had a snafu with the pod. So we're going to talk about that because if anybody wants to try it on their own, then they'll know, don't order that studio size pod. It's not going to work. And really all we're bringing is our clothes and our important papers and our photo albums. So I literally thought that pod would be fine, but no, it was too small. So we think it's important to talk about stuff like that. And so the first few episodes will be literally our missteps and our victories.
Yeah. I mean, I've already booked and canceled an Airbnb. So, and it all boiled down to parking in Seattle. So those kind of tips and I don't know. I don't want to be like super like do this. And we're not a travel blog or
no, we've never
podcast
done this
per
before.
se.
We've never traveled
It's
like
kind
this.
of just we feel like we're at an age and in a demographic where we have a lot of friends who would love to do the same thing. And it's a shot for them to vicariously sort of do it either, via the podcast or we're really hoping to drag some people out to some of these places we're going.
Totally.
Like we were giving our friends the full court press the other night about like, okay, so we'll be in these 3 cities, pick one, where are we going to see you, and really trying to get some of our friends either from LA or regionally from, some of those other places that come and, see us while we're on the road. And I think that'll enrich the podcast eventually as well.
Heck yeah.
So,
it's going to be really fun to watch where you're going.
Yeah.
And what it's like because it's going to be fun, but I think some of it's probably going to be hard. And to see both sides of that coin will be really interesting too. And, you'll be doing for other people what your cousin did for you.
Yeah.
They moved to Boston. They have a bowling alley in their house.
Yeah.
Let's hit the road. So someone else may go, well, if they can hit the road, then I can hit the road. And that really is such a brilliant way of looking at like truly your next chapter. Because I think lives are built in chapters. Your childhood's a chapter.
Yeah.
Your 20s, like college in your 20s is a complete, total chapter.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And then once you start having kids and getting married, there's a chapter. And then your kids leave
It's true.
and there's a chapter,
Agreed.
until you start becoming of the age where you can't do what you're talking about anymore. Maybe like when you're 80, 85, and there's
Right.
another chapter.
Yeah.
So if we could all embrace what each chapter is teaching us, right?
Yeah.
And how they build on each other and how freeing it is to be able to start a new one and say,
you're so right.
this doesn't discount anything that came before this
Yeah. No.
or predict anything that's coming ahead, but let's start something new. It's so cool that you're doing it together.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's
we're looking
so
forward to that the most. I mean,
fun.
I've spent a lot of time, pre-pandemic, an hour in the car each way, 10 hours at an office. So I like to think I was there for all the important things, the back to school nights,
Sure.
the big games, the, ceremonies and awards and all that stuff.
Mhm.
But man, sweating bullets on the 405, trying to make sure I get there in time so my kids don't look at me and say, oh, dad's always late and I'm not important, and, you know,
Right.
and not being that guy. And I've missed out, especially the first several years of just owning our house. I missed out on, a lot of moments that
Yeah.
happened in the house.
Yeah.
I feel like, in LA, especially when you're working in the entertainment industry, there's just an expectation that, even if you're done with your work at 4 p.m., you're not going to stand up and walk out of the office.
No.
There's just a peer pressure there where it's like, if you do that, you're going to, you're not going to get booked again,
Yes.
or you're not going
Yes,
to
it's
get
very
booked at that
true.
place again. So you have to sit there and, order dog blankets on Amazon or whatever for 3 hours
Right.
just to kill the rest of your day. And meanwhile, you could be spending that time with your kids,
Sure.
So
now you won't have to do that.
yeah,
Now
now
you
we don't
won't
have
do
to do that. So
And years down the line, when you, maybe soon, maybe not, when you have grandkids, you can really plan around and
Yeah.
enjoy.
That's the
That,
goal.
yeah.
Yeah. So really that is what somebody just asked me if I had literally yesterday, if I had, what would be like the one thing that I could pick for my future? If I had one thing that would be a constant, for sure, what would it be? And I said to live near my daughters.
yeah,
That's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Like for me, this is why I'm doing it. I want to find a place where we can all live comfortably and make it affordable and nice. And, so for me, that's the driving force behind this. Like, of course, I want to visit all these great places that we have talked about, but haven't been able to do because raising 3 kids, you can't just randomly travel to New Orleans. Like,
Yeah,
I haven't
no.
been able to, I've never been to New Orleans. Like,
No, me neither.
oh, okay. I feel better. I think I'm the only
so
one.
we're gonna give you the peer pressure to join us in New Orleans now.
There you go.
So now we
September.
can do it. I mean, we do have a loose plan where when we leave Los Angeles, the first stop would be at my daughter's college.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be in Seattle, Washington. So that's our first stop. She's going to get in the car and drive with us to Seattle. Then our second stop is our second daughter. Ellie's the baby. So the middle daughter, I'm going to go and move her, James and I, into her apartment. So she is now a sophomore in college. And the big deal is when you're a sophomore, you can get your own apartment.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the calendar, arranging it in a way where we'll actually be in Utah and we can move her. Then our oldest daughter lives in Texas. So then we're going to make our way down to Texas. But we're going to hit all the states in between that we want to visit.
Yeah.
I want to go to Sedona, Arizona. Like I'm so
It's so amazing.
okay. This
Is
is
it?
what I've heard.
Yes,
This is what I've heard.
yes, it
so
is.
yes. Okay. So we're doing
Yes.
Sedona. We're doing a sound bath, whether you want to or not.
I don't even know what that is.
They're
that like
also
Bert's Polar Plunge?
amazing. Not at all. Not at all.
Not
Not
even
at all.
close.
No water involved.
No water involved. Okay.
So our goal is like he's never been to Austin, Texas. I have, but
Yeah.
he hasn't. Neither one of us have been to Dallas. I know Dallas is just a big city, but I want to see it. So
Sure.
Heck yeah.
we'll hit Corpus Christi, visit our daughter for a few days. Then we're going to make our way. The goal is to Florida. My brother lives in Florida. So that's kind of like, we want to go to the Keys. We've never been to the Keys.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful.
So we just have a beginning, which would LA, and the end would be Florida, and just make our way all the states in between. And
That's amazing.
yeah, and then decide once we get to Florida, like we know we're probably going to want to get on a plane and head back and see our daughters, like, in school. So we'll do that, but also then even explore more.
We're
Like,
gonna do it all over again, only a different direction.
Well,
so.
you go back to Texas,
We'll go the northern
Utah,
route.
Seattle, and then you can go up through Wyoming.
Oh,
Yeah.
exactly.
Montana,
the
So-
Idaho.
Dakotas and all that.
Yeah.
why
so,
not?
yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So now what happens if the 3 daughters end up in 3 different
I
I
places?
know. I've thought about this.
I know, your
every
grand
time
scheme
Denise
of
talks
right
about,
down the
did you see
block.
my face when she's talking about her plan of everyone living together? I'm like, oh, there's going to be
You know
one
it's going
rebel.
to happen, right? You know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know that's going to happen.
What, that they'll be all over the
Yeah,
place?
one will be in
Yeah.
Boston and
Oh.
everybody else will be in the Pacific
Because-
Northwest.
Yeah. Mhm. Yep. You know that's going to happen.
Well, let's hope it doesn't.
Yeah.
Let's hope your dream of everybody within a couple blocks comes true. But if it doesn't,
okay. So we have
then
to
what
just.
do you do?
I figured I'm hoping that 2 of them at least live near each other, like hoping, and then the one outlier, we're just gonna have to fly in to visit everyone.
We'll just buy tiny houses in every state.
There you go.
And we'll be ready.
There you go. Little tiny home.
Yeah.
I know everyone. So many people have said to me, "Oh, that's like a pipe dream." You know that your girls you're not all going to be living together. I don't know. I have friends who they all live together, and I have friends who don't. So I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed.
Anything's possible.
I know, and they're young, so you know what?
Yeah.
We'll see. They may move 3 or 4 times before they find a place they want to hunker down
If
on.
they're anything like us, yeah, they're gonna totally do that.
Well, that and you have your youngest is just starting, so there's 4-year college there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have at least 4 years of not having an answer to
It's
that
true.
question.
Yeah.
So in 4 years from now, you may feel differently. You may be like, you know what, we've traveled enough for now.
Yeah.
Let's settle down here and
That is
then
true.
see where we go from here.
The
You know, you
beauty
never
of all
know.
of this is that we just really do have an open mind about it.
Completely.
Like we don't have an agenda other than getting from one coast to the next. We've given ourselves 6 weeks to do that.
Mhm.
But we don't have an agenda. So it's pretty awesome. Like
Yeah, we
just
don't-
yesterday, somebody said, oh, you should check this out. It's an island off of the Georgia coast called St. Simon. Oh, you know that.
It's
okay.
gorgeous. Yes. Tybee, St. Simon,
Okay.
Jekyll, all three
I
of
literally
those.
just said to him, we have to stop at this place
Amazing.
called St. Simon.
Yes,
so
it's beautiful.
when I say we don't have an agenda, we'll add things if people tell us. So we're going to be in St. Simon in a few
Well,
weeks.
Good
We're
for
gullible,
you.
so if people tell us to go somewhere, we're going. So it's really that simple.
Easily influenced,
Yeah,
right?
we're like, why not? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, sounds good.
You know,
Yeah.
Peoria, I hear. I'm just kidding.
I'm
Denise
from
knows enough.
Illinois, so
I
I know,
know.
Peoria. We're not doing that.
I know.
We're more Tinley Park kind of people.
I think this is awesome. What do you think is going to be the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge.
Oh, us conversing in a car because he doesn't talk.
Oh my God. And I'm doing a podcast. Like, I mean, you know,
No,
I
he
have a cap on things. Like after a couple hours.
30 minutes. Is
It's not 30 minutes.
seriously.
A couple
after a
hours,
couple
30 minutes.
Okay,
hours.
let me just tell. Okay, when we first did a road trip together, it was from Los Angeles to Vegas. Everybody, you dating somebody, you're gonna do a little. You're gonna do a little trip to Vegas. It's 4.5 hours.
Mhm.
He talked, and I'm not
A good
exaggerating.
3.5 hours.
No, he talked maybe the entire 4.5 hours, fragmented 45 minutes.
Oh,
And I'm
come
stretching
on.
it. No,
Oh
I
my
got out of the
God.
car and we had just started dating. I got out of the car and he goes, oh, that was great. And I slammed the door. I go, I will never do this again. Literally. And we didn't do it again.
And now you're
Well,
about
to
to do it
Vegas.
again.
We've done it to, but she, you know, she has her modes of entertainment that, you know, when I sort of clam up, she just puts her favorite music on or what have you, or her little thumbs start going on, you know, the phone, and it's time to
He's
text
gotten
and catch
better.
up on work.
So that is the one thing is I verbalized it to him. I said, I'm afraid it's going to be lonely with you. I know. I'm a little nervous about that because he doesn't talk.
Oh, come on.
So
It's gonna be fine.
And I'm going to get tired of talking. Your jaw starts to hurt. You're talking and talking. You're like, I can't ask this man any more questions. I've lived with him for all these years. I know everything.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
I know. I mean, that's kind of why I shut up sometimes, because it's like I already know you know the ending of the story, you know? And
Okay, so then here's what you need to do, in my expert opinion, because
Yeah.
I know so much. But what we do when we road trip is we pick a podcast that we can all get into, like a series podcast.
Okay.
Like they have the most obvious one is some kind of true crime series.
We did that.
we did
Okay.
Billionaire Boys Club.
We did.
that.
Yes, exactly.
We did
Yeah.
on a road trip. And
Yes.
I liked it.
It's fun because then you can talk about
It's true.
what you're experiencing together. So
It's true.
Right.
we do that with the girls. We'll pick a podcast and listen to it and go, "Ah, can you believe that just happened? Oh my
Yeah.
God. So it's
Yeah.
almost like watching TV.
Right. It's a
But-
mode of entertainment where everybody
Yes.
can participate.
And they're
for
all,
sure.
yeah, you can all, and you don't have to talk. You're all engaged in the
It's
same
true.
thing. And so you're connected. And then you can like pause it and go, oh my God, let's discuss that for 5 minutes and then get back to it.
Yeah.
I am notorious for bringing what's called table topics.
Mhm.
They're
I know that.
okay, little cards, and I'll throw them all in a Ziploc baggie, different genres of table topics, and I'll pull them out. And the kids always roll their eyes and
They
like,
grown.
oh, they're like table topics, but they get into it.
Of
like
course
then they
they
start
do.
like arguing about like that was your favorite holiday? No, this is my favorite because it asks questions. A
Yeah.
table topic like what's your favorite holiday?
Yeah.
So I'll do table topics with him because it'll ask things like, what's your favorite movie? And then he'll tell me, I'm like, that's a stupid movie. When you, how could that be your, get that? No, redo. What's your favorite movie? And then we'll argue about like,
Yeah.
well,
No
that's true.
redo.
It's good to spark that conversation.
so I'll bring those, but you know, after a while I get tired of being the one trying to think of like things to engage in. So
Yeah.
that's my own, that for me, you asked what I'm a little nervous
But
about.
I think what's filled up a lot of our time, even just the past several days, is just talking about our podcast and how we want it to feel and mistakes that we made, both with the move so far and with the podcast and all that. So it's our first real project together. And it's kind of,
she wants to know what you're nervous about.
I know, but I'm just saying you don't need to be as nervous because the podcast is forcing us to talk to each other.
Okay,
so,
there we go.
That's true.
Okay.
That's true.
And it's not really, I mean, I'm overstating by using the word force, but, I guess I do sort of drift off into I'm a daydreamer. So I think that really plays into it a lot.
Well, it's super boring if you were both the same person.
Yeah.
If you were both super chatty or if you were both super quiet, it would be really boring.
Yeah.
So you have to have a balance. I know Bert and I are completely different and work.
It makes it work.
And because we ebb and flow and we balance each other out, it would be problematic if I were exactly like Bert.
Oh, it'd be two people fighting for the same space.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so we're definitely not that. And there are moments where he'll be the star and I'll take a seat back, and like where I may be the more engaging one, and then he'll take a seat back. So
so same. Mm-hmm. So what do you think is going to be the biggest?
My biggest fear is money. So it's like we got to figure out money. That's always my biggest fear.
But
he's a workaholic, Leanne. So he's always worried about money. Always.
Something's always spinning.
So sorry.
No problem.
Just took a weird breath.
It's okay.
Sorry.
So for you, what are you worried about? Like, we sold our house, we have money in the bank. What is the biggest concern? Like, I don't get it.
Just longevity. I mean, you want the money that we've made so far to work for you, and you want it to last. And you also, I have a firewall, monetarily speaking, where it's like if we dip below that, then we have to, I either have to go back to work and really hustle and. I think there's going to be and I've already sort of thought the solution through, and it really is, rather than staying 3 days here, 4 days there, actually staying somewhere for a month or a couple weeks to kind of give yourself, like, we're looking for a hometown eventually,
right.
And so, you got to give yourself a little bit of time to fall in love with it. And I feel like if I have to work, then I will be able to do so and still enjoy that city because we're still there. We're not like packing up the next morning and leaving town or whatever. So it's going to be an evolution. I mean, I think the podcast is really going to reflect that evolution.
Totally.
And it's the old paradigm of, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. So from Mike Tyson, that's the key quote everybody throws out. And I feel like, when we have our first couple stumbles, then we'll sort of, fortunately, we're both traveled enough already where we can sort of pivot or say, okay, is this really a problem? Or, all right, well, we'll just go to this city instead. We took a road trip in the middle of Armageddon. In 2020, we went up through Northern California when the fires were going. When we got to Oregon, there were riots.
Oh my God.
When we got to Seattle, there were still riots, I guess. And the pandemic was going on. So I figure if we could travel with two kids during all of that going on, I think we're going to be good.
Yeah.
So
as long as he doesn't worry about money.
As long as I don't worry about money.
Well, it sounds like that you're worried about money, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like if you were just like, caution to the wind. I thought you were going to say I'm worried about Wi-Fi.
Oh, yeah. Well, I am worried about that.
Funny,
but I actually bought a device.
A big part of our first podcast.
I am worried. Yeah. The Wi-Fi is a big part. I feel like I made a purchase on Amazon. We're going to see if this thing works as well as they say it does. So that I'm never sort of left without some sort of connectivity.
What did you buy?
It's a device. It's called Local Me or something like that. It's just a little I think it operates off of cellular towers, and you just pay. It's a pay as you go sort of plan. So if I need it for a particular day, I will be able to, just sort of connect that to the computer and then hopefully have the coverage. I mean, as long as there are bars somewhere nearby, I think I'll be good.
Right.
My fallback on that has always been, you can go to these, like, I think they're called Regis, or they're different like workspaces you can go to for, if you really need an office setting and fast internet to get something done. I had to do it in Salt Lake City.
Right.
So we've done a couple test runs, by the way.
Good. Yeah, you have?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, we've hit A few cities.
I've worked out about 10 cities in the past 2 years, 3
just to
years.
see if it'll work.
Great.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi was a problem. It's funny.
Wi-Fi
you brought
is
that
an
up.
issue,
It was now I know what
Wow.
questions to ask when I rent an Airbnb. Before I didn't. And some hotels have great Wi-Fi, some do not. And he had to like literally wake up one morning in Oregon and run to a coffee shop, sit outside to get on their Wi-Fi because his show didn't upload.
There was no inside
He woke
service.
up in the
Everybody was
morning
still
and
wearing
there was-
masks. It was still a pandemic. And so
Yeah, he
I
woke up in the
had to
morning in
poach their
panic.
Wi-Fi from a picnic table. I
Yes.
was like, please don't rain. Please don't rain. It was
I
just
was like,
totally
yes,
cloudy
right?
overhead.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was nuts.
So
but,
we've tried it a few times, and so we've done test runs. So we've been in Chicago, Colorado, Utah, Idaho, Boston, and it's worked pretty well. There was just that one incident. Well, we've had two, Oregon and then Utah. He went to the library, the university library, thinking this is gonna be great Wi-Fi, and then again had a panic and had to run to a workspace.
And I think the thing that I really need to explain to everybody is, for my job, I'm like pushing video, like
Right.
4K,
So you need it nice,
you name it.
yeah.
So it's not an issue of just being able to get email or connectivity
No.
for like, logging into my work portal or what have you. Like I really have to control edit bays all over the world.
Right.
And there's just bandwidth issue, doing that at certain Airbnbs or what have you. I've gotten burned a few times, but I'm a little, because I've gotten through those little moments. Like there was the day that I had to rent a workspace in Salt Lake City. Like I really was worried I was going to get fired if I didn't finish it. If I had work to finish.
Right.
And
so hopefully this little device will work.
Yeah, a little device will work, but it's like having, when you work in production, it's kind of like adapt and overcome in many ways, and you just have to make it work. And even if, the audio is not great, you still have content, or if all those situations. And so at least I was coming into that problem with that sort of background,
Right.
where it was like, I didn't have to freak out, or I know tech.
Yeah.
So
Which
like,
helps.
I knew what I needed. Yeah.
You just have to
So.
pivot.
Yeah.
Pivot.
But that said, I would never, like for the little problems, I would never trade. I spent 10 days working in Boise, and I would never trade the ability to just stand up, text my daughter, and meet her 5 minutes later for lunch. Like as adults, it was a weird space to be in when I first did it. And then our middle daughter, when I was in Salt Lake City, it was just amazing. She could come over and, in the middle of the day, like I was doing something and I was working, and she just came over and cracked her books and started working on her assignments, and she was having her study session. I was doing work, but we were together in another city. And it's just to be in that space with these little critters that had been like crawling all over me for years. And now it's like, oh my gosh, like these kids, like, I think these kids are going to make it. They're going to be okay. And they're here with me now. Like they still want to be with me in this other place. They don't want to, they're happy I'm here visiting, and so that's huge.
Our older daughter actually asked him when he spent 10 days with her in Boise, because this was again a test run. He wanted to go spend time with her, but it was also like, ooh, let's see if this can work. I'm going to bring my computer. I'm not just going to take days off. I'm literally going to bring my laptop and see if I can make this happen. She called me and she said, "Is everything okay with Dad and you? With you and Dad?" And I said, "Why? Yeah, of course." She goes, "He's coming for 10 days. Why is he coming for 10 days?"
Oh
I
my
said,
gosh.
"He wants to visit with you."
Yeah.
It was really cute. And then she, again, when she'd get off work, she'd come over to his Airbnb and they would hang out or they'd go out to dinner. So it was really nice.
Aw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like enjoyable. That's what we're looking forward to doing. Spending time with them and, in our travels as well.
That's great. Well, you have great kids. I've not met your oldest, but
Thank you.
Oh, thank
Mia and
You have great
Ellie
kids
are
as
great.
well.
You do.
they're
I'd say-
okay.
It's been
No,
fun.
just kidding. I love my kids.
Them
Yeah,
spending,
your kids are
especially,
great.
just how great friends Georgia and Ellie have become in the past year. And it's just, they're so funny together individually. You know,
they are. They're really, really
smart
funny.
kids. I mean, really.
Ellie is so funny the other day. We were in the kitchen and and I said to Georgia, "Hey, did you take your math placement test yet?" And she goes, "No, I tried to get on. And I guess my advisor said, if you have trouble logging on, it probably means so many people are already in it.
Oh,
you may do it another day." So I'm going to do it again on Monday, which of course I don't think she's done because she's too busy hanging out with Ellie
Yeah,
and Daisy and
totally.
Sophia, right? So I said, Ellie, do you have a math placement test? She goes, I do. I said, have you taken it? She said, here's the deal. I'm scared I'm going to take it and I'm going to do so good on it that I'm going to be placed in a really hard math class.
That was her answer?
Yes.
That's
I
funny.
started laughing. I went,
gosh.
oh my God, Ellie.
That's
You
her
just said you're afraid you're going to be
Yeah.
like so smart that they're going to go, watch out. Albert Einstein's coming
Yeah.
to school.
I'm
Here
happy
we go.
she's thinking
I
that
know,
way
right?
because, you
It
know,
was
she's
hysterical.
always been the
Is
kid.
hysterical.
She has always been the kid. We've had to dial her back, you know, like
She
we're like,
is
no,
the
you're
best.
involved in too much already.
Yeah,
You're-
yeah.
You know, you don't need honors, whatever. You're going to
Right.
go play volleyball in college.
Right?
Like you're
Have
not
you-
even, you know,
Have you
seriously.
ever heard that before?
No,
I know.
and I loved it. I was like, that. I said, that self-confidence will get you so far in life. Don't ever
I'm
lose
dying
it.
right now that
But-
that's my kid.
I know,
Oh,
right?
it's amazing. It made me
know.
laugh so hard.
She's
because
working
I
really
thought,
hard to get to the middle right now. And it seems,
Right? I'm afraid I will do so well on that math class,
Yeah.
that math test, that they'll put me in a really hard math class.
Oh.
And I do not want a really hard math.
oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
No, she wants her reps in the gym. I get it.
I was like, wait, so every third question, just bomb it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Easy. I could tell her to fail a test real easy. She should just come to
so
me.
could I failed
Right,
calculus
totally.
twice. She just needs to turn in my answers.
I loved that answer. I was like, wow, that is adorable. That's
Cute.
adorable. That's how you're thinking. Yeah, how do I work this system so it's not quite so hard?
Right, right.
I don't blame her. School for them is not like school was for us. So
No.
much more pressure.
Yeah.
So much more difficult. And I don't know, there seems to be, or at least from the outside looking in, a lot of pressure to be that AP honor student.
Totally.
And
I
not
don't
everybody's
agree with
that
it.
way.
Nope, and I don't agree with it. I really
No.
don't. I have said to her several. They call me a quitter in my family. They're like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
they-
you're the quitter,"
She's a quitter.
because you always say, "Just don't do that. Just don't do that." But I say it to them, the kids.
Yeah.
I do live my life in a way like if it's not enjoyable, do not do it.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And so it's like, why are you doing this if
Totally.
it's not enjoyable? So for her, I always do say to her, no, you're not doing that. You're going to quit that. Like, that's too much. Like
In the middle
you're
of a season, just because she got into a
No.
little spat with a coach, she's like, well, just
That's-
quit.
No.
And I'm like, no, that is horrible
No, if
advice.
she
She's not
comes
doing
home
that.
crying all the time about something, that to me is
Different.
reason enough to quit.
Different.
But with the APs, no, like she wanted to take 4 APs. I'm like, woof. I said, absolutely not. I said, I'm going to call the school and I'm going to talk to your counselor and tell them I forbid you from taking any more
Yeah.
APs. And she said, I've never heard of a parent doing that. And I said, there's no way. You have to enjoy your
There's
high
balance.
school.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
you
on a
need some
traveling club
balance.
team.
Yeah,
and
no,
like,
no,
you know,
no,
we're in
no.
different
I don't
cities
know
every
when
month.
this started. I really don't. I don't agree with it.
I don't either.
To me, enjoy your high school years. You only have it once. We're going to look back and say all I did was study. That's horrendous.
Yeah. Luckily, Georgia does not have that bone. As a sophomore year, she, I guess, was going into honors English, but had no AP classes. And she was like, yeah, man, people keep talking about taking these AP classes to get into college and this about college. She was like, I just want to be here. Like, I just want to be right
Yeah.
here. And
Yep.
college will be whatever it's going to be. But I don't want to
100%.
worry about that as a junior. I just want to be a junior.
I am
Right.
so
And I
with
went,
you.
girl, I am on your team. I don't care what classes you take, as long as
That's smart.
you're doing your very best.
Yeah.
You know, if you should be in honors and you're not, then that's one thing. But AP is a different thing than honors.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
and
that's
you have to take
different.
a test at the end of the semester.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I just wanted her to enjoy high school. That's
Yeah,
all I
totally.
wanted.
So fun.
Mhm.
High school for me was I just had so much fun. It was not my glory days or anything like that. But I look back on it and go, that was really fun.
Yeah.
And it should be.
It should be. And I
Yeah.
had a lot of blow off classes. I had like my senior year.
Oh my gosh,
I
we all
think-
did.
Yeah, right. And that's kind of amazing because you start developing other things like
Yeah.
social skills or even
A
like
part-time job.
part-time job. Yep. Or even like positive criminal behavior.
Keggers. You're leaving out keggers.
Yes, positive criminal behavior. You know,
That's
teenagers need to have a
You're
little
leaving out
positive criminal
bonfires
behavior.
and keggers.
I agree.
Yeah, if
Positive
you-
criminal behavior is good.
It makes you, man, it builds some metal.
It
Yeah.
really does.
That would be sneaky and sneak behind, listen, we don't allow kids to drink here. We're not stupid.
Oh,
Yeah.
We're not stupid.
right.
Same.
We know
Same.
what happens, but I'm not
Same.
going to go, so here's a full bar for you. Have
Right.
fun and
Yeah.
don't leave. I can't. That's not how, I don't care how anybody else functions. That's not how we function.
Yeah.
So, but I know that I know what they're doing.
Of course.
And that's part of that positive criminal behavior where you go,
Yeah.
that little criminal behavior in a safe environment and safe circumstance is
Yeah.
okay. It needs to be criminal though.
Yeah, there's
If I
always-
give them permission, it's not criminal
Agreed.
anymore.
I'm with you.
Yeah, totally.
So
I was going to
that's-
say, there's always that one bogey kid at a party you've never seen before
Yep.
with a backpack.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
And you're like,
There you
who's
go.
that? Oh,
No,
that's
that's-
Joey. You've met him
Yes.
before. No, I don't think so. I've never
Yes.
seen that kid before in my life. But,
Yes.
he's the mule, you know?
He's the mule.
I know. I had a parent call me, and because we've had several parties at our house, graduation.
Yep.
Gosh, we had I think every dance party, meaning like homecoming, prom. They all came to our house, and I had a parent call me one time and said, "Is there alcohol?" And this is seniors, and I said, "Oh, I said yes." I'm not look, I'm not providing it, but let's be honest.
Yeah.
These kids are going to bring alcohol.
Yeah.
I've had the talk with my daughters.
Yep.
I've told them to have the talk with their friends. They cannot drive. There's no way that we are not providing alcohol. We don't allow alcohol at our house. I've actually said that, saying it at the same time, knowing as I'm saying it, she's texting as I'm saying it, saying, hey, you're bringing the White Claws, right? As
Yeah.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
no alcohol allowed in
Yeah.
our house.
Mhm.
Yeah, but so this parent asked me, I just thought, I really have to have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
These are senior kids, but okay,
Yeah.
let's have this conversation. So if your daughter can't come, then they're going to have alcohol.
Yeah. I mean, get real.
Mhm,
Yeah, totally.
mhm.
They're way better than what I was.
Oh, my God. I was a menace.
Oh, I was terrible.
a menace at that
I had
age.
negative criminal behavior.
Yes. Same.
I mean,
Oh,
like,
my
forget
Lord.
it. I had
Yeah.
both going on, positive and negative. And
Yeah.
my kids are like, I know where you are and what you're doing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm not stupid.
Right.
We were at a party last week and kid with a backpack shows up. And then suddenly
That
people
kid
start
with the
going
gun.
around the corner
Oh.
of the
Uh-huh.
house. And there's a window. So I can see them walk
That's
by the
awesome.
window. We're not
Yeah.
at our house. It's
Okay.
not here. It's someone else's house. And I'm like, I go to our friends and I go, you see what's happening here? There's like a freeway
Yeah.
to
That's
the side of the
cachet
house
back
right there. And so he starts walking around the side of the house. What's going on here? Busted.
Oh, my Lord.
Shoes them all out. But we know what's happening. Come on.
Yeah.
The best was we had a party at our house. It was our middle daughter's graduation party. So it was a big blowout. You were at the last one. Mia's was
It was
just
a
as
blast.
big.
Yeah.
Thank you. So at the end of the night, the bartenders leave and there's a legit bar in our backyard full of alcohol. So I go back there, and this was, our second daughter's graduation party, and all the kids are circled around it. And I'm going up to Ellie and I'm saying to her, Ellie, dad's coming right now. Like there's no drinking. We're going to take the bottles. And she's like, Mom. And at this point she was a junior in high school. She goes, Mom, nobody is drinking, Mom. Nobody is drinking. I turn my head. I look at the bar. I kid you not. A junior boy has a bottle of vodka in the air, pouring it down into his glass as he's looking at me smiling. I go, what are you doing? And he goes, as he's pouring, he goes, you don't see this. You don't see this. There's nothing in my hand.
My God. Those kids,
So
that
all of-
particular class, oh my Lord, those
I know.
guys, they had the finesse factor
They
where
did
it's
have the
like, I
finesse
know you guys
factor.
are being bad, but I
they're
love
so
you.
damn
you
cute.
know?
Right,
And they're
right.
so
Such a good
polite.
bunch
of
I mean,
kids.
yeah. So all that to say,
Thank you so much for the vodka.
Yes!
Yeah.
That was
Thank
it.
you, Mrs. Gordon, for
That was
having
it.
us today as he's like emptying out a kettle
Leanne,
one.
that was
so
it, Leanne.
funny.
Exactly. So yeah, so all of that to say, I'm saying to her, there's no drinking, as they're pouring the
Yeah,
drink
yeah.
in my periphery.
Right.
In my periphery.
Right.
And then she's saying to me right here, Mom, nobody's drinking. Mom, we would never do that. And he's right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do.
Oh,
Yeah.
if you're
That's
not
what
lying
you
to
do.
your parents, there's something, you're not a teenager.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
You're not, something's wrong.
And whenever I
sure.
hear parents say, oh, my kids wouldn't do that, or they wouldn't lie to me, I'm like, oh, jeez, you
Yeah.
got the baddest one in the group. But then your kid's the baddest one.
Right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yes, it's very true.
The most
Often.
naughty.
Totally true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how do your girls feel about this next phase
Oh,
of
that's
life?
a good question. I think I'll answer. I think our oldest one could care less. But she did make a point to come home this past month and be in our house one more time.
Aw.
As a dad, I was like, I slept like a baby that night, like knowing all
Yeah.
my, little kids were under the same roof one
Aw.
last time. It was a little dusty in the room when she left. And
To be fair, she's been gone for 4 years.
Yeah,
so-
she's already launched.
yeah, she's
Yeah.
done. And then I think our middle one is a little like Mia's probably overall okay with it, understands the logic behind all of it. It's a little bittersweet, but she's already had that moment where she's come home and, her room was a storage facility,
Yes.
And so
Yes.
she's already had that shock moment where, you're not home anymore,
Right.
And I think she's accepting a little more. Ellie is not happy at all.
Oh no,
Mhm.
Ellie
And
had the
she-
dog pee on the for sale sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every time she took the dog for the walk, Roxy, go pee on that
They
sign.
would take
She'd
pictures of
her-
the dog peeing on
Oh,
the for sale
my
sign and send it to
God,
us. Yeah, she's not happy.
that's hysterical.
And understandably, it's like everybody's moving on, and maybe in some ways she's feeling like, well, this is my moment, like this is my last summer here, and this is, or I want to come home for the holidays, like my sisters were able to come home for the holidays, and now they're sort of, you can come home, I mean, but it's just home is wherever mom and I are now,
Right.
We did agree that for winter break, because when you send a kid off to college, and you'll know this, when Georgia comes home for winter break, you're only going to see her probably like for 3 days, because all the kids that are home for winter break, they all want to talk about their college experience.
Totally.
So they'll all go to someone's house and they'll be out, they'll go out to dinner. Like, you're not going to see them much at all. So Ellie was really upset. She said, my winter break experience, I don't want it to be in a different state. All my
Right.
friends are in Los Angeles. So we did agree that for Christmas, we would rent an Airbnb in Van
Somewhere in
Nuys.
Southern California.
Yeah.
Somewhere here.
Oh, that was
So
great.
yeah,
That's
so that she could see all her friends. So it'll be in
Yeah.
a neighborhood somewhere. So
Right.
we'll be here for a few weeks or whatever, so she can visit with them and have her winter experience.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Spring break will be something else. I have no idea. But you know
Well,
what?
they
To-
kind of fizzle out after that.
I was gonna
the
say,
other
by
two
then, I
kids,
bet
like
they
by
move
year
on.
2, like Mia sees maybe 2 girls she
Yeah.
graduated with now.
Totally.
She,
and to
they
like
just-
make it
they're
a
all
little,
into their lives at this
Yeah.
point.
and to make it
totally.
a little bit easier, I did say to the girls when they were like, oh, well, like Ellie did bring up spring break. She was like, oh, okay, so we're here for winter break, but what about spring break? And I said, maybe we'll be in Greece. How does that sound? And she was like, oh, okay.
Maybe.
I said, so then you just come to us.
Right.
So if dad and I are exploring Greece, then you just come to us for your spring break.
Right.
And so that kind of eased it a little bit.
So do kids these days not spring break? Like I went to like Daytona for spring break. I didn't go
As
home.
did I.
Right? Exactly. I didn't
All
go
the way
home.
from Ohio. I mean,
Totally. So they don't do that now? They don't like go with their
I think
friends
the
on a
kids
trip?
from LA are just so like, I think, when you're from Los Angeles and you go to say Alabama or rural Texas for a college or something, like the last place you want to go is another town that's, I just think they want to come back to LA where there's so much to do.
Mm,
All their friends are like, they are a little spoiled here. The weather's always amazing.
mhm.
There's always a pool or a kickback or, family.
How about Malibu? Their spring
Yeah,
break
Malibu.
is in
Is
Malibu.
Like,
why
it's
wouldn't
a
you wanna go to
45
Malibu?
minutes. So people from other states are flying to Malibu for their spring break, and our kids can drive
Yeah,
30 minutes to
totally.
Malibu. So I think you're right. No, spring break, like they don't go. I mean, our kids don't. Our
Yeah, like-
kids haven't gone anywhere
No,
for spring
kids from
break.
LA don't want to go to Panama City or anywhere.
Oh, well,
like that.
no.
You
Well,
know
no,
what I
I
mean?
don't mean that. I just
Yeah.
mean like Greece with their friends or
Oh,
Hawaii or I don't
think
know.
for the families who can
Cabo
do it,
or-
they do, I guess.
I just wondered because I don't have a kid in college yet.
They'll
So-
maybe go. Like you'll hear Hawaii is more for winter. You hear a lot of Hawaii for winter break.
Right.
Spring break, not so
I
much.
just wonder
No,
because,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I for sure did not come home and see my parents for spring break.
Hell
No.
no.
No way. So then that was my
No.
question. They come home to you for spring break
They do.
as opposed to going and doing something like
Yeah.
we did. Not necessarily PCB.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's what you're going to experience that
Mhm.
we experienced every spring break with 2 of the girls that were already in college. They bring their friends home for spring break.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. Our older one,
Okay.
That's
3
super
spring
fun.
breaks in a row, all friends, because their friends want to go to Malibu. Their friends want
Ah.
to see Santa Monica Pier because these are
Right.
things they've only seen on television.
Totally.
They want to walk the Hollywood Walk of Fame. They want to see the Hollywood sign.
Makes sense.
That's what you're going to experience. As soon as
Okay.
Georgia's friends realize that she's from Los Angeles, she's going to bring probably 3 kids home with her every spring
Yeah.
break. That's normal. That's
Okay.
we've
Okay.
had that a lot, and they usually come with a list.
of what they want to do.
Mhm.
Universal, Disney.
Yep. Or if
God.
like the
It's
girls.
pricey if you're hosting. So, I'm not gonna lie.
Get ready.
And
Oh.
Get
Denise
ready.
is totally like, "Hey kids," like opens up the wallet in the house and everything.
I
and
plan
which
for
is great.
their spring break because those kids are only going to come. The way I look at it is that those kids who are coming from like my oldest daughter, her friends came from Idaho. Mia, her friends came from Vermont,
Virginia.
Virginia.
Idaho.
You're right, Idaho. So these are kids that may never come to LA
Right.
ever again, and friends change. So
Sure.
she may not even be friends with them in a year.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when they come and they have a list, I hit everything on the list. The one
Right.
girl took a photo in a restaurant that she only saw. She used to watch a reality show, her and her mother. And my daughter said, she watches this reality show and the restaurants and the reality show. Can we go? And I said, sure. So I made a reservation and the girl almost started crying. She took pictures inside the restaurant, sent it to
Yeah.
her mom and said, this is, yeah. And so then she said to my daughter, when she left LA, they were here for a week. She goes, your mom did everything on my list. Like there wasn't one thing she left out. And I said, they're here.
Yeah.
And who
Yeah.
knows if they can come back. Let's
Totally.
do everything they want.
Yeah.
And it was all within reason. I mean, I saved for it though.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's easy when you're living here though to sort
Yeah.
of forget. You just get so used to the industry is so pervasive everywhere you go.
Mm-hmm.
And so, those kind of locations or what have you that some people and the majority of the country will only ever see on television. It's
Sure.
like to be able, it's like it clicks in your head. You're like, oh, this is a big deal to them. This is cool. This is great.
Yeah, so
like
they'll-
I don't want to go to that restaurant. I didn't go.
No,
So,
Right.
but I'm happy she took the kids,
But when they come here, and I always say to my girls too, and you'll probably want to share this with Georgia. I've said this over and over. Don't act like you're too cool for school.
Mm.
Because when you live in LA and you act like a brat in another place, like my oldest daughter, we went to Chicago for a school thing. And the kids there were like, you're from Los Angeles. And they asked her 100 questions. She was not as forthcoming about it. And I think it's just because
she was nervous.
She
Yeah.
was nervous, yes. And it's kind of like she didn't get
Why
how
it's a big deal.
yes, she didn't get.
Yeah.
And so I said to her after that, I had to pull her aside and be like, oh no, you
Yeah.
do not behave like that. If someone asks you, you tell them everything. Like you saw Kylie Jenner at the local Jamba Juice or whatever.
Mhm.
Like you're going to tell them you saw her. You're going to tell them that you go to school with so-and-so's son.
Yeah. Let
That's
them be
stuff
excited.
they want to hear.
Yeah,
Like,
it's very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let them be excited.
and like you live it, but they don't. And so the other two have grown up. And so like with that in mind, so and Georgia's gonna, you're gonna say probably have the same conversation. Like when she gets to her school, everyone's gonna say, "You're from Los Angeles. Tell me, who have you seen? Who have you met? Blah blah blah." So she's gonna have to go through that, but she has to do it with grace and like a
Yeah.
smile because she doesn't want to come off as like a bratty LA kid, and
Right,
that's like
totally.
what we have really stressed.
Yeah, it's
like,
a fine line. It really is. I think, they run the risk of, being perceived as trying to be big shots
Mhm.
versus, sort of everything's no big deal and it's just
Mhm.
so casual, and
Well,
so-
I'm going to be interested to see how Georgia navigates it because, everybody knows who she is
yeah.
because of her dad's
Yeah.
comedy. So her name is so recognizable because his last name is so
Yes.
recognizable. Kreischer is not a
Nope.
popular
It's
name.
not Smith. No.
No, it ain't Smith or Jones or,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and she does not like being recognized. It makes her very
I think
uncomfortable.
she's gonna get more used to it, and she has to.
I think she has
doesn't
to,
have
yeah.
a choice. She
We've
has
talked to her about it a million times
Yeah.
about having grace. When someone recognized your dad, we just took Isla to Yamashiro for her birthday.
Oh, we
last
saw
week.
the photos.
we
I said
heard.
to George, I said, "You went to Yamashiro?
Yeah.
That place is amazing,
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes,
Isla loves sushi, and she'd never been there.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And, Isla's very into. She's very artistic. She's a very visual kid. So I was like, what a beautiful place.
it's a feast for
Yeah.
the eyes.
It is a feast for the eyes. It's a
It really
perfect way
is.
to putting it.
Yeah.
And she'd never been there. So I was like, perfect place to take her for dinner. I can't believe I never thought of it before now. But, and when we were there, this group of guys recognized Bert
Mhm.
and stopped him and asked for a picture. And Georgia got so annoyed. She was like, oh.
Yeah.
And then one guy said, I bet this happens all the time. And she goes, it does. And walked off. And I went,
Aw.
time out, honey. I know it's an inconvenience for you. I know it's something you didn't choose.
Right.
It's not something you chose for yourself.
Right.
But that guy is paying for your college. That guy bought your car.
Yeah.
That guy gave us this house.
Leanne, I'm with you 100%.
And so you have to be graceful and have some gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when you get in the car, go, oh, that stunk. And they don't need, you can have those feelings. You can't behave
Of course.
that way.
Yeah.
Right. You can't behave that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying deny how you feel. I'm saying adjust your perspective.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Just adjust it. And, you know, as I've been told many times, Georgia doesn't listen to me at all ever. So hopefully maybe.
Oh, I disagree.
Maybe.
I think she does.
She does sort of. She does sort of. But
She just doesn't want to give it to you. Our oldest is like that.
I think
Like, she will
probably.
eventually come around after, you know, we could give her advice, and until she hears it from some random kid at school or what have you, or at her job.
No, we've
It's
heard
like-
Leanneisms though at our house. Like we've heard Leanneisms, like when she'll say, "My mom said this," and you know, so I think it's in there. It's percolating.
Well, I know she listens, but with that issue, I don't think she wants to change it. So I think she protects herself.
I think
that way
she's going to
somehow.
have to though,
She
because
will have to,
because people are not going to probably be open. As she gets older, people are not going to, they're going to be more verbal about that behavior that she has.
totally.
Like, you know, people will say like, you know, well, I just want, you know, people are going to.
That's not cool.
Yes.
They'll say that's not cool.
Yeah. That's what
I just
they'll
wanted
say.
to say hi.
Yes. You're
And-
right. That's what they're going to say. You're exactly right.
I think it'll be helpful when she goes and has a little time away, a little separation, and then, you
I
know,
think so.
there's always that recognition eventually. I mean, all of our kids have had it at one point or another where it's like, oh, wow, my parents really worked hard to make all this happen for me.
I
you
do
know?
think she's
And
going to
there's-
come to that recognition that Bert works really hard, and he does, and
He
you work
does.
really hard.
Yes,
And so I think
you guys
she's
are always on the hustle. Like,
Yeah,
congrats
she's-
on your continued success. Seriously,
Well,
you just
thank
keep
you.
chasing it. So, like, it's always working.
The
It's
brain
just
never
fun to watch.
stops. Neither one of our brains ever stop. I think that's one of the reasons we're a good team, is because neither one of us ever stop thinking about creative things.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a very hard worker with like regular work type stuff, but I also am super creative, like your mascot, you know, stuff like
Yes.
that. Always.
it's always going. That's
It's
what I
always
said to you.
going.
It's always going.
And Bert's
It's
is
impressive.
always going. He's going more than I am. But
Yeah.
anyway, I'm so excited for this next chapter of your life. I can't wait to see where you go and how you process it. You know,
Me too.
I don't know how open you'll be. You seem very open to me, but how open you'll be about the negative parts of it too, because the negative is just as important as the positive, because sometimes the negative is where the growth comes.
Oh,
right.
It could reframe everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes that negative just like digs a deeper crevice to fill with positive, you know?
Oh, that's a good way of saying it.
It's
That's
kind of
really-
how it works, right? If you
Yeah.
allow the positive in, right? If you allow the balance of the two. So anytime you go on a new adventure, there's going to be snafus,
Yeah.
hiccups, arguments, hours where you're talking and he's not.
Yeah.
And, you know,
true.
it's going to happen.
It's
So
true.
For sure.
watching that, I'm interested in watching that as not the drama. I don't care about drama. I don't
Right.
watch the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. That's just bullshit drama.
know.
That's
I
drama
agree
for
with you.
drama's sake.
Yes.
Yeah.
But drama happens in life sometimes, and that's where you learn.
Yeah.
And that's where you get the opportunity to teach others.
Oh,
is-
that's a very good point.
You know, when you go,
like, are you going to be calm? Are you going to what's your problem
Yes.
solving? Like the car breaks down in the middle of the desert. Okay, what do we do? Like, how
Yeah.
do we handle
Right.
this? These are, he's really, really good problem solver.
right.
Like amazing.
But I curse and throw wrenches occasionally. So if there's ever, I mean, I'm hoping I don't have to fix anything on the
Well,
road.
she didn't say you were an even-tempered problem
No, she
solver.
did not say that.
She said
She
it
would
was a good
never
one.
say that. She would never say that.
Two different things,
But I think,
baby.
you know, in our first couple episodes, I really feel like we are on our best behavior.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, the sheen of that is eventually going to like slip a little bit. And like, we're
Right.
gradually
Reveal.
getting into the more real,
Right.
even in, you know, as the second episode went on, I feel like we're starting, like the banter between us that normally exists is
Yeah, yeah.
already starting to bubble to the surface, you know, and it's
Yeah.
good. It's healthy. And,
Yeah.
you know, we get at each other a little bit,
Totally.
but you know, it's always like out of love for the most part. Sometimes she hates
Right.
me, but you know,
Well, the cool thing about this is I think that you have the opportunity to present a multi-leveled podcast in that you can talk about your travel. You can talk about this next phase of your life, this next chapter. Kids are your empty nesters,
Yes.
so to speak. But we also get to see a real marriage that works very well, and maybe from time to time gets real,
Right.
Like from time to time, I go, this past week with Bert Kreischer has not been my favorite.
Yeah.
He had some medical stuff. Everything's fine. He had some unnecessary tests he was taking because he has anxiety.
Aw.
So he wanted to take care of his anxiety and take these tests. The anxiety that led up to the tests
Test.
were unbearable
Anxious about
for
the anxiety
me.
test.
Where
of
I was
course.
like,
Yes.
I need a Xanax because you're killing me. And that is the truth. Hey, I'm not going anywhere.
right.
Nothing's broken. We
Right.
didn't even have an argument.
Right.
But at the end of the week, I was like,
Exhausted.
and he kept going, you seem so detached. And I was like, Mother of all that is holy. The only way I can
That
get
is
from A to B
awesome.
is detached because
Yeah.
you are at a level 11
Yeah.
about nothing logical. So I've tried to help you in all these for 5 days now. I've been trying to help you. And at this point, I'm just in survival mode. I'm just
Yeah.
detached and I love you and I'll robotically do whatever you need. But I just got to make it to Tuesday when this shit's over. That's what my psyche did.
Totally.
But that's so very real
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
in a marriage.
Yeah.
And
We're going to have those.
you're going to.
100%.
And I think if you are inclined to share them,
Yeah.
I think that is helpful for other
Oh,
people to
yeah.
go, okay, I do that same thing. 67% of people who watch and listen to my podcast are men,
Really?
which shocks me.
Wow.
Yes,
Did not know that.
it shocks me.
Wow.
And I get so many emails saying, my wife has said to me so many times exactly what you just said, and I never heard it from her.
Oh.
Now I'm going to go back and readdress it with her because now I understand. And I go,
Look at you solving
that's
marriage
amazing.
issues.
I'm just saving marriages all over the place with my, can you believe my husband, blah, blah, blah. No, but I go, isn't that what part of what life should be?
Yeah.
Is that we help each other by
Mhm.
just being ourselves.
Right.
Mhm.
Because being yourself, warts and all,
Yeah.
it gives other people permission to be themselves, warts and all.
Oh,
And then you
that's so
can love each
true.
other,
Yeah.
warts and all,
Yeah.
and know that everything is flawed.
Yeah.
Right.
Even imperfection, it's flawed.
Yeah.
You know?
And, I mean, the one thing that we have, I don't know, I can't speak for you, but we thought about is, you're kind of putting yourself out there.
Totally.
And I feel like, in many ways, I'm an easy target. I've had financial problems in the past, or I've had, or I carry around too much weight or whatever. And it's like, oh Lord, what are the social media comments going to be, and all this stuff. And so, to think about, how easy it would be for people to say, oh, they had to sell the house to, be free or whatever. It's, but at the same time, it's kind of like, yeah, we did it because we want a better life
Mhm.
for ourselves, for our children. And so,
When I ever get any comments like that, I just look at them as noise.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't attach or allow them to attach to me in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, that's so good to hear.
You know
Because
why?
I've already thought of that. Like, what are we going to, because we're going to get, nasty people just to be haters for no reason. And
Completely.
we've never done anything like this. We're not podcasters.
Completely.
We're not travel people. I never
Right.
watched a travel channel. We've
Yeah.
never been on TV.
Yeah.
We're just normal people
Yeah.
who decided to do something different with their retirement and travel.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's amazing and very brave. And anybody who has anything negative to say, my advice would be never respond to them
Yeah.
because that's what they're looking for.
Do you delete their comments?
I don't.
Oh, why not?
No, I don't. Halston might,
Oh,
but I
okay.
don't.
Okay. Okay.
Because I don't really care.
okay.
I go, say whatever you want to say. I am truly an open book.
Okay.
And if you think I'm too fat to be on camera,
Mhm.
lay it out there, buddy.
Yeah.
Because I don't. So,
Got it.
and the only thing that matters is what I feel
Mhm.
in my world.
Right.
Now, of course, that sounds very selfish and arrogant. I don't mean it that way.
No,
I mean,
you
someone
feel
who's coming
good
at
about
me
yourself
with
No.
stuff that I don't align with, then
Yeah.
I don't need it.
Yeah.
You
just
know?
when you, like what he said, when you put yourself out there. So we know. I mean, it's funny you mentioned that because I did think about it too. Like, ooh, there's gonna be some not nice people. Like,
Yeah.
saying like,
Who do they think they are?
Mhm.
Uh huh. Yeah. Okay, let them say that.
Yeah. I mean, I think, for me, especially, it's like I've reached a point in my life where it's like, it's not because I'm older and now I just don't care. Like, it's not old man syndrome or anything like that. But, I've worked in television a long time, and I've worked on some amazing shows, and I've worked on some real dogs, and there are moments in my head where I'm like, I could have screwed this up just as badly as these people did. And so I'm just at a point now where it's like, I'm not really asking. I'm not asking for permission.
Right.
We're doing this. We're going to have fun with it. It's
Yeah.
something we can do together.
Yeah.
Our kids were genuinely excited when they heard about it. So it's like, wow, we must really be on to like something cool here.
Yeah, because the kids are the litmus test. You know that. Like if they're like, then I would have been like, oh, should we? Like I literally, if they were like, what the hell are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? Then I would have said, maybe we should rethink this. Maybe it's going to make them uncomfortable. They legitimately were so excited. And even yesterday when I talked about the girls, like Georgia didn't know we were coming here today. And Ellie was like, oh my gosh, she goes, they're going to basically have a video she called it something like it was a video log, but she also said, you're podcasting your journey. Like she goes, we're going to have that forever.
Exactly.
A digital log. I'm sorry. That's what she called a digital log.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so if nobody listens, they will. They'll have it forever.
Our kids are by far our worst critics. So if they're on board, we must be doing something right.
That's true. And I podcasted with my dad, and my dad is so shy. He is so. From my hometown has 1,600 people in it. That's where he's lived his whole life. He is very, very simple in the best way man. And but over and over again, please do my podcast. Let's please just talk about stuff on my podcast. And he didn't want to do it. And then I said, listen, if you do my podcast, I'll have it forever. So when you're gone,
how can you say no to your daughter?
I have you. And he goes,
there's no way.
Okay.
Yeah. If my kids came to me with that angle, I'll forget it. I'm like,
then your grandkids will have you forever.
Yeah,
look at this.
Really
look what my grandparents did way before we were born. This is amazing.
Yeah.
It's really such a gift. It's a gift you give to the world, to your family, to yourself.
Right.
And if you look at it that way, any haters that come in don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't get it.
I just think about your dad, and I'm thinking about my dad. I'm like, oh, I wish I had that opportunity to do that.
I know.
Like, you're so lucky. Sorry.
Oh, I keep wanting him to do it again. I know. I keep running out of tissue
it's okay.
in here.
It's okay. Just thinking about you doing that with your dad, I'm like, wow, you're really lucky.
I am so lucky.
Yeah,
and I want him to come again. And the next time he came out, he was like, I don't know about this time. Maybe next time. So hopefully next time we can talk again. Because we just kind of told stories from growing up.
Great.
And I did that before podcasting existed, when I realized I was very close to his parents. And I realized we're on, a little bit of a countdown.
Yeah.
I got an audio recorder. And I made 25 questions that I asked everybody in my family. And then I recorded the answers on audio, and then I transcribed everything and made like a family album. And it was it was my 2 grandparents, my dad, his 3 siblings, and 8 cousins my age.
Wow.
All in this one book. And we all answered the same question.
Wow.
It's a family tree you put together in audio.
Sort of. And they were like questions about childhood, questions about what was your favorite holiday, silly questions like that too.
That's great.
But I still have all the little mini cassettes, and I think so. I have my grandparents' voice forever.
That's amazing.
And
that's really great.
That is amazing. I can't bring myself to listen to it, but I can't listen to it. It made me too upset.
Yeah.
But I think if I ever get to a place where I could hear them, or I needed to hear their voice, I have it. Yeah. So
I did that with my dad.
You did?
Yeah, she did.
I made him do it. He wouldn't, but I just gave him a cassette with a microphone. And I said, these are the questions. And I wrote it on a piece of paper similar to yours. I don't think I had that many. And I just wanted to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I think you're doing is so great. It's so cool. I can't wait to watch your journey.
Thank you.
Because then we get to travel with you.
You do. Yeah. And we've told all of our friends, and obviously, whoever wants to do this with us, we've said to them, wherever we go, we're going to get a 2-bedroom Airbnb. Wherever we are, you want to come visit, come join us.
Right.
I mean, if we're in a little town in the middle of Iowa and it's fantastic and we're talking about it, and one of our friends calls and says, we want to check it out. We have a 2nd bedroom. So let's do it.
Just follow us on social media, and we're going to telegraph everywhere we're headed next. Or,
so listeners, feel free to join. I'm just kidding. Only 10,000 people listening today. So anybody, no, just kidding. Just kidding. Yeah. But yeah, you'll be gone from most places by the time you post your episode, probably. If you
Oh,
leave
for
my
sure.
comment.
Yeah.
Definitely, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So that's why, especially for our friends where we're, like from LA or from different parts of the country, just kind of giving them a heads up. It's like, hey, we might be in your neck of the woods, I think it'd be good. I mean, I really don't have family scattered across the country. She does a little more, mostly on the eastern side. Everybody I grew up with are, my whole family is still in Ohio. So they just same 30 miles of 30-mile radius kind of thing. But it's great. So when we're headed that way, at least they'll know ahead of time.
Right. That's great.
So it'd be good.
What are you going to miss about LA?
Oh, there's a lot actually. I'm really going to miss the way people think here. It's very progressive. I'm from Chicago, so it's a progressive city as well. But here it's just different.
Mm-hmm.
It's just juice cleanse. Had to reschedule a dinner the other day with a couple because one of them was doing a juice cleanse. Juice cleanse. And I was like, ugh. So, as annoying as that is, and it's very LA, I'm going to miss that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm going to miss. What about you?
I'm going to miss Dodger dogs.
Oh.
I miss it is without a doubt one of the highlights of going to a game. And
Totally.
So just signature LA to go to the ballpark and enjoy a day out there with the Dodgers and go blue. So
Go
yeah.
blue.
So I'll miss that.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
Well, those things are irreplaceable. I don't know that you'll find either of those things in any other city.
I know.
No, but we're gonna try.
And it's okay if we don't. Then that's our
totally.
memory of LA. Like, I mean, I have really a list of things I'm gonna miss about LA, a list of things I don't like that I will not miss about LA. But it doesn't have to be replaceable because that's what makes my time in LA special. Like if I were able to find the same people somewhere else, it wouldn't have been my experience here.
Right.
So I'm okay with that. Like it'll be my memory. Like there are things about Chicago I can never replace. And it's very Chicago.
Yes. Yeah. So true. So we took the girls to Montana.
Oh, nice.
2 summers ago with my friend Sandy I was talking to you about before the podcast and her 2 kids. So we took them to, we were in Bend, which is tiny. I think it has 1 stop sign. And
how
we went,
had to be a culture shock for these girls.
I grew up like that.
You did, but
my hometown, 16
daughters didn't.
No, didn't.
Right.
So we're in this grocery store, and the grocery store has taxidermy. Has deer, mountain lion.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like anything you can think of, ducks, geese, from the front door on all 4 walls, all the way back to the front. It's a complete circle, basically, of taxidermy. Oh. And these 4 LA kids walk in like,
are those real? That must have been their
They did. They asked, are those real? Did someone kill all those animals? They got so LA about it that I pulled them outside and went, let me tell you what's going on here. Okay? You are in a place where people hunt for sport.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like we play soccer.
Yeah.
And they hunt for sport.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now listen, everything on here that was edible, I guarantee you they ate.
Yeah, that's true.
If you see a deer, that deer was processed for meat and eaten.
Yeah.
The mountain lion you see right there was probably going after someone's cattle. And that's how you handle. That's when you have a ranch where you raise cattle. That's what you're supposed to do is protect your property and
your business.
That mountain lion is not extinct here. There's plenty of them in Montana. It's not like LA where there's like 4. You know, it's a totally different thing. So you need to adjust the way you're reacting because you are in their culture. They're not in LA with their taxidermy. They didn't show up with their 8,000 stuffed animals and then expect you to accept them.
Right.
You're in their house.
Right.
So you can't walk in their house and go, this is horrific because that is rude. This is the way this culture works here. So take a deep breath.
Yeah.
And walk in there with the mindset that this sportsman is really high accomplished. And as much as we don't like all these dead animals.
He was an all-star.
He was an all-star, man. This guy killed fucking everything. I mean, you gotta, you're not going to change him.
Up there.
This leopard ain't going to get stripes. So you got to walk in there and go, nice looking spots, man. Look at all those spots. They look amazing.
Is that a lynx? Wow.
Right? Totally. So I think they went, 'cause 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 okay, I kind of understand what you're saying, and I'm going to try. And they came back in and tried. And I was like, if we could all just do that as we travel through life, just be curious about this guy's not a bad guy.
Right.
He does something that's perfectly legal that we as a country agree can be done.
Yeah.
And he's very proud of it.
Yes. He's been doing it since he was 6 years old. I mean, come on.
I'm sure. He's flying his freak flag, man.
Yeah.
You know, the freak
Tigers
flags
have
look,
stripes, man. That's how it
Totally.
is.
the freak flag
who he
looks
is.
totally different in LA.
It does.
But this
For
is
sure.
this guy's freak flag.
Yes.
So you got to respect, right?
Yeah, totally.
Respect.
Totally.
And I just, that part of bringing anybody from here to somewhere like that fascinates me.
Oh,
to
for
see
sure.
them process my hometown. You know, I just took 12 Girl Scouts to my hometown.
Yep.
And to watch them process,
This is where you grew up.
yes, this is where I grew up.
Yeah, because they're looking around
Four-way
and they're
stop.
thinking like, this is where she grew up. How what'd you do?
Yes.
What'd you do all day?
And to watch them go like, the police station in Wedowee used to be a like maybe 6 foot by 6 foot brick building
Wow.
that had one folding table in it. And
Oh,
it
wow.
was in the middle of the four-way stop.
Oh my gosh.
So the police officer could sit at his little table and watch all the traffic. The four-way
no
stop.
Are you
way.
serious?
I swear to God.
Wow.
So we would drive and go, is the police there? If he's not there, then something's happening in town, right?
my
He's gone out on the
gosh.
call.
Yeah. It's a
Big
big
news,
deal.
right?
It's a
Big
big
news.
deal.
And there's the county seats. So there's a jail, like a jailhouse,
Uh-huh.
like a literal brick building with bars, like a jailhouse. They still use. So the girls, we took them to show them this jailhouse, and they were like, "This is like a real jail. It's a jail." Oh my gosh. Took pictures, and so we let them run around the town by themselves because they can go nowhere.
Uh-huh.
Right.
And they snuck back to the jail to do some TikToks in front of the jail.
Of course.
And the sheriff pulls up with a van full of convicts,
Ah!
like in the full convict regalia, because in the South, you know, they all have work duty.
yeah.
They allow
This is
Yeah,
incredible.
prisoners
You-
to go,
You
go
couldn't
work.
have planned it this way. You know that, right?
I know,
You
right?
could not.
So the sheriff gets out and our girls scatter
I
like
was gonna
cockroaches.
say, did they scatter
They
like
ran
mice?
like cockroaches. They were like, the sheriff,
Like
and there's prisoners.
Real criminals.
He has
oh my
prisoners.
God.
And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this would never happen in LA.
No.
You would
it
never
happen.
see any of this in LA.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
No, not even.
I'm glad they weren't like, oh my God, this is terrible. Like,
Yeah.
how dare you take the prisoners out to work in the hot sun? They didn't have that reaction.
No,
good.
no, they didn't.
You know, I was like, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
That's a
Yeah.
memory.
Wow.
Oh,
Your
literally.
town was, I grew up in a small town, but your town was really small.
oh,
like,
there's nothing
A
to do.
policeman at a Costco table. Like, I
There's
did not have
nothing.
that. No, yeah.
Nothing to do there.
Wow.
Four-way stop.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
What did you do there?
Fight fucking race. That's about it.
Oh
No,
my
really. Nothing. Nothing. I went fishing a lot, went camping a lot.
Do you ever remember being bored as a kid though? Because I
No.
don't. As a kid,
I
it
was
was
never
always
bored.
something going on. And
No,
now
no,
I
no.
go back there and I'm like, well, I shouldn't say now. Later in life, like now, I go back there and I'm like, oh, this place is cool. It's so
Yeah, yes,
relaxed and
beautiful,
whatever.
yeah.
But you know, I grew up on a lake. I was a mangy little lake rugrat, you
Right,
know,
right.
and so but going, you know, there was a time in my 20s where I was like, oh God, got to go home, you know, or whatever.
Right.
So
Nothing to do there.
yeah,
Well, it definitely was a great place to grow up.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
I
when
bet it was.
my parents divorced when I was 7, and my mom moved me and her to Atlanta, actually into the gay community in Atlanta, because she thought safest place for a little girl is with gay men.
Mhm.
So I grew up without other children
Wow.
around much when I lived with her. And when I was 13, I moved back with my dad. But I also, from 7 to 13, spent 3 months in the summer with my dad.
Mhm.
And my dad had a log cabin on 20 acres. And then his parents, who I was very close to, had 80 some acres and were cattlemen. So
Wow.
I was either on the farm or in the woods
Yeah.
all the time. An only child, didn't have any siblings, but I had a lot of cousins. So the juxtaposition of those two lives
yeah.
was so enriching
Oh,
that
wow.
I think
Atlanta.
the whole time I was in Atlanta,
Mm.
because there were no other children really in my community, no one to go out in the street and
Yeah.
play with, I was very lonely. So I didn't like that childhood, that part of my childhood.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be back on the farm or in the woods with the cousins.
Oh, cool.
So once I
Okay.
got back there at 13, I like devoured it. I was
Yeah.
so hungry for it. But once I got to college, I'd seen too much in Atlanta
Yeah.
to be able to live there. I
Got it.
couldn't function there. I was very unhappy. I drank a lot.
Oh.
I raced cars.
Yeah.
I had a lot of risky behavior.
Totally.
Got arrested, because I was just lost. I didn't like my heart belonged there, but it didn't feed my soul. Like I couldn't
Right.
get what I needed. I didn't have enough of anything.
Yeah.
It was all this. I mean, like I graduated from high school with 74 people, and I think maybe 5 of us went to college, and
Wow.
everybody
Yeah, I had
else got
similar
married,
experience.
and so. And even though the ones that went to college got married like right out of
Right away.
college, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I am not doing any of this shit.
No,
I'm
You
did not
so
relate.
lost.
You did
I
not.
couldn't relate
Mhm.
because I'd spent so many years in Atlanta exposed to, I mean, like I was telling the girls the other day, all the men in that community died in the AIDS epidemic.
Wow.
So I lost my whole community there.
Georgia was telling me this.
It was
Yeah.
awful, but
yeah.
that experience, I mean, can you imagine just hanging out with like 2 gay men?
Your hair must
All
look
day.
so good all the time, and your clothes must have been so cute. How is that not possible?
Because I was a very stubborn tomboy.
okay.
Never wore shoes.
Did they always try to like mix and match you and
I
coordinate you
would
though?
not let me. I
weren't
would.
allowing
I dressed
any
like
of
a
that?
boy. I was like, I need a
they
football
were so
jersey.
disappointed. They had this girl that they could
No,
not
no,
doll
no,
up.
no, no, wrong girl. Knocking on the
Oh
wrong
my
door.
gosh.
I was like,
They just
to
wanted
the
to
point
give you
where my
French
mom.
braids,
I
Leanne.
know,
Like, let them do it.
I know my mom when I finally got in high school, she's like, "Are you gay?" And I went, "No, I just don't like dresses.
Right.
I just don't.
Yeah.
I just don't wear dresses,
Uh-huh.
and I don't like makeup, and I don't like to do my hair. I just leave me alone. Let me get dirty. I just want to go out and race cars, and
Yeah.
I just wasn't a regular kid,
Right.
and that's okay. I have. It's,
yeah. Of
You did
course.
just fine.
I'm fine.
Yeah, you're doing all right.
I grew up and married a girl who's in a boy's body. So it all works out. I say that all the time. I'm the guy in this
God,
relationship.
that's awesome.
He's so emotional and
I
he's
was
so
going to ask you one
sensitive.
question.
Yeah.
Actually, this is funny because I noticed this when I was cutting the video for our podcast.
Yeah.
Like my head is massive, right?
Oh,
Compared to like if my head was a fish, it could eat Denise's head.
Same.
on
Same.
video, you
Yeah.
know. And I know Bert's head is also
Enormous.
Like, so do you make him stand back? Like my
We take
family makes me
selfies.
stand
We
back
make him
during
stand
photos
back.
or
Oh,
any of
how
that.
funny.
Do you make him stand
I'm
back?
so unaware of that shit.
Oh.
I am terrible.
Oh, he's got a pumpkin head. So
Oh, so
we're
does
like,
Bert.
you've got to still, and we do a selfie. He has to
The
stand
kids
back
forced
and
me
we
to stand
come
in the
forward.
back.
How funny. I've never
Yeah.
even thought
Somebody
about it.
pointed it out. A friend of mine
Yeah.
said, "No, when you take a selfie with him, your head looks like Beetlejuice, like the little tiny head, and his head's really big. So
Yeah.
he needs to go forward, you need to go forward. He needs to
Yeah.
go back. So
It's like all these things I'm learning by doing this now.
oh, so
and
see, they haven't done that to their
No.
dad or husband. No,
what's really funny because then I started thinking, well, Bill has a bigger head than I do, and
His friend.
like you're going through all these scenarios with your friends.
It's just
Who has
you,
the
babe.
biggest head?
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
just we just make
So
you.
I,
Well-
I thought
well,
my head was
maybe.
medium.
What we unconsciously do is Georgia has a big head. So they have what they call the Hobson head. Bert's mother's maiden name is Hobson. Those heads are massive. The women,
Hobson
men,
heads.
the Hobson head is like a melon.
God, that's really
you know,
funny.
I mean, Bert's a size 8
It
hat.
sounds like Cabbage Patch dolls.
8
or something.
half?
They should sell a
He's
line.
a size 8 hat.
Oh, 8.
He's
That's
size 8.
huge.
It's huge.
8. Okay.
Georgia
yeah.
has a big head too. So their heads kind of are similar. Isla and I can't even buy like a one size fits all hat. It hits me like here. And Isla's the same. I have to buy like a child's hat because I have a little pea head. So I don't even have a normal head. Mine
Right.
is small. Mine's
Wow.
Beetlejuice. And Bert and Georgia are like melon.
Oh
So
my
maybe
gosh.
we've been just unconsciously putting the two of them together and the two of me together
Maybe.
because they match
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh,
heads.
look at your selfies.
I'll have
See
to
how-
do that.
Yeah.
Check it out.
I'm so not savvy with that stuff. I
Oh my
am.
gosh.
I'm out to
It was
that
pointed
stuff.
out to me as well. So,
Oh, well.
don't feel bad.
Well, I am so excited for your
Thank
journey.
you.
Thank you
you.
for coming and talking to me about it. Tell me again the name of your podcast.
Skip Town All Stars.
Skip Town All Stars. I love it.
Thanks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're skipping town. So obviously that part was easy. And then, I just like the word all stars. I think it's you know, a little more of my, like, I follow NBA and the hip hop culture and all that. And I was like, I want to be an all star too. So
Yeah.
Totally.
that's what we're going for.
Hey, it's your chapter. Write it however you want.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having
Yes,
us.
Thank you.
It's been a thrill. I was super nervous this morning.
You were?
I'm not gonna lie. And like
We
I've
both
met
were.
you, I know you, and I'm still like, you know, oh God, Jimmy, don't screw this up. You know?
You did great.
Thank you.
Thank you so
I
much.
hope it was fun.
It was amazing.
was
Are you kidding?
awesome.
So
Yes,
great.
so much fun. I love
Yeah.
chatting about all the things that we're gonna do. The kids. It's been great. So thank you for having us.
Yeah,
I
I'm so glad you came. It was a
Yeah.
great conversation. Thank you. I can't wait to watch and listen. And yeah,
Join
good
us in our
luck.
adventures.
Thank you.
Bon voyage.
Bon voyage.
Right?
Thank you. Thanks so
Thank you.
much.